Hey everybody, Jeremy Price with the Herald-Times here. Missing Mike Miller this evening, but we have found an able stand-in Sam Beishuizen of thehoosier.com. So filling in on ScoopTalk tonight, here at Assembly Hall, where Indiana capped off an 83-60 win over SIU-Edwardsville, just 2 nights removed from the big win over North Carolina. And I guess the big question tonight was, would there be a letdown? And well, I mean, it's hard for the whole night not to be a little bit of a letdown, given everything that went on the other night. I mean, we had no Kyle Schwarber tonight. Mm-hmm. We had no Jim Cornelison tonight. We had no North Carolina tonight.
There is a similarity, though. Bob Knight didn't show up to either of these games.
That's true. That is true. And we were here for both of these games.
That's right. And that's really the true celebrities of Assembly Hall.
So, well, we might not have gotten the fans quite as fired up this evening, but they did get rather riled up, the folks in attendance in the second half, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, avoiding the letdown. First 4 minutes, that didn't look so good.
No, it did not.
Indiana spotted SIU-E a 4-0 lead and was 0 for its first 8 from the field. And then Zach McRoberts happened.
Yeah, Zach McRoberts with the clutch 3-pointer after a timeout, I believe.
Yeah.
First one off the bench. Zach, I mean, he's been solid. I mean, I didn't expect anything out of Zach McRoberts, considering he played as much basketball as I did, competitive basketball a year ago. But for him to kind of open things up there right away, I mean, you knew they were going to find their footing. You just didn't want them to miss 7 or 8 shots in a row ever. I mean, SIU did something that North Carolina couldn't do, and that's take a lead against Indiana. And you figured the last thing you want to do is have tired legs without OG Anunoby, being in a position where you have to compete in an actual basketball game. McRoberts comes in, hits that 3, and all of a sudden things kind of calm down. Indiana pulls away, and then it's just another ho-hum cupcake basketball game at Assembly Hall.
Indeed. A couple things to touch on right there. You mentioned OG Anunoby. OG had some very nice crutches and a beautiful walking boot on his left ankle this evening. Yesterday, IU said that OG was out indefinitely, and I think they're taking that very literally. Tom Crean said tonight that he didn't expect that OG would play on Sunday, but he wasn't ruling it out necessarily either. He wasn't banking on it, but he's not ruling it out. So it sounds like this is probably more a short-term thing than a long-term thing. But obviously, if you're IU, the prudent thing to do is to take your time. And frankly, what is there to rush OG Anunoby back on Sunday for, really? I mean, Southeast Missouri State, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you tweeted it, I think, a few days ago, but if you're going to get hurt at any point of the season, now's an okay time, because you really do have 2 weeks. Yeah, this is kind of a stressful part of the schedule of 4 games in 8 days or whatever this is. But then you go into 2 games in like 2 weeks.
Right.
So as long as, I mean, if you're Indiana, as long as you have OG Anunoby before Louisville, quite honestly, I mean, you'd like to have him for Butler and compete in that. But there's no reason to rush him any time before the Big Ten season starts, only because you don't want to risk anything greater than that. So we can just hang out on his really nice crutches today.
Yeah.
Really, really nice crutches that I don't know where he got them, and not worry about it at all until you need them.
Yeah, these are not the cheap, painful, under the arm straight crutches that you'd pick up at your local doctor's office or pharmacy or whatever the case may be.
I mean, I don't know how often you go purchasing crutches.
All the time. These were very nice, ergonomic crutches.
Oh, yeah.
Designed clearly for the comfort of the likes of OG Anunoby.
No, I'm sure it was recycled metal. I'm sure there was that stuff you see in the energy bracelets. I'm sure it was all over it.
Probably stuff from NASA in there.
Oh, no, there was definitely some rocket science in those crutches for OG Anunoby. But they didn't need them because a guy like Juwan Morgan stepped up huge today. His first double-double of his career, and it was a good one. 18 points, 10 rebounds. Only mistake was 1 turnover. It made all 8 shots, 1 3-pointer, 1 free throw. I mean, he was everywhere, and Tom Crean opened up his press conference today by just jumping right in and saying, yeah, we didn't have OG, but we had Juwan Morgan, and Juwan Morgan was basically Juwan Morgan plus OG.
Yeah, he said Juwan rebounded for 2 tonight, which was funny because when Juwan was in there just a few minutes prior to Coach Crean, Juwan's like, no one person can step up and fill OG's shoes, and then Crean decided that wasn't actually the case. Actually, Crean said normally that's the case, but on this night it wasn't the case. Juwan definitely stepped up and filled those shoes. Career high 18 points. The 10 rebounds tied a career high for Juwan Morgan. Very impressive night. It was a night of career highs, really. When it comes to the front line, freshman Deron Davis came off the bench, career high 14 points for him. Also, I believe a career high in minutes for him as well. So Indiana got maybe a couple of different guys that hadn't really gotten going yet this year to step up and fill those shoes for OG Anunoby. And even Thomas Bryant wound up in double figures with 11 points, which if we kind of circle back to the what we were talking about before when Zach McRoberts came in, McRoberts initially came in the game for Thomas Bryant, and Thomas Bryant had a nice chat with Tom Crean on the sideline at that point.
Nice is one word for it.
I think that was the product of getting blocked at the rim a couple of times and really not going strong over a couple of maybe inferior is the wrong word.
They were undersized
SIU-E defenders. So Thomas Bryant comes back 3 minutes later. Indiana's up 9-6 at that point. Right. But when he comes back, he proceeds to score 7 points over the next 6 minutes and really helped spark the run along with Davis, who also had 8 points in that stretch. Those two really spearheaded what turned out to be a 20-6 run, which took Indiana from, like we said, that slow start, pushed it to a double-digit lead, and really the game was never in doubt after that. It was good times for everybody. As a matter of fact, such good times that we saw Tim Priller with 9:18 remaining in the second half.
How wild was that? I mean, we're not used to seeing Tim Priller that early. I was confused. Everybody was confused. I mean, you talked about career highs. Tim Priller, a career high 4 rebounds. His previous high was 2 on like 6 different occasions. 4 boards for Tim Priller. He's never going to forget the time he played SIU-E at Assembly Hall.
Came in at the 9:18 mark, was in for about 3 minutes, I think. Mm-hmm. Checked out, had to get a blow there, probably a little more than he's used to. Came back in about the 4-minute mark, I think it was, and finished things out from there. So a double appearance for Tim Priller tonight, and he was on the floor with Thomas Bryant. During the first stint that was on the floor. Things I never thought I'd say.
No, I mean, and truly, we have no idea what Tim Priller's stamina level is like, because we're not used to seeing him at all. But yeah, him playing with Thomas Bryant, I mean, we were so excited about seeing Thomas Bryant and Deron Davis maybe playing together. Maybe Thomas Bryant and Tim Priller are not. Maybe. They're not.
Yeah, okay. No. And during that same stretch, Freddie McSwain probably put together his career highlight, threw down a half-court alley-oop pass from Curtis Jones. That was rather impressive.
Yeah, Freddie McSwain, he can jump, and Jones can pass, and that was one of those plays that the people who waited in GA today were happy to see. I mean, that's
both of them,
all 4 of those guys. They were there 20 minutes early today. No, it's kind of the athletic plays in those kind of moments that make you say, okay, I see what Tom Crean saw in a guy like Freddie McSwain. Yeah, he's still raw, and maybe you wished he was a little more complete at this point, being that he's only a 2-year player. But when you see sparks like that, you know it's in him. And it was nice that he was able to use one of these games where he could see some more significant minutes. And it's really what you'd expect to see Sunday, and perhaps moving forward, especially with OG Anunoby still hurt, because Juwan Morgan's not going to be perfect every game from here on out. But
really, Morgan's perfect night helped offset really cold shooting night for James Blackman. I think he was 2 of 10 from the field, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Free throw line, Indiana was really good tonight, 20 of 23, I believe it was, total. So, but yeah, I mean, Robert Johnson got in foul trouble early, hit a couple of shots, but was kind of a non-factor. So there were some other guys that sort of had off nights, not unsurprisingly, given what Indiana was coming off of against North Carolina. Yeah. But it got the guys it needed to step up, and Freddie McSwain's another one of those guys that's going to see some more time. Like you said, these next 2 games, Southeast Missouri State on Sunday, then you've got the better part of a week before Houston Baptist, I believe it is, next, and then a week after that before you get to Butler. So maybe a chance for some of these guys to sort of find a little bit of a rhythm. For Curtis Jones, outside of that first game against Kansas, it's been really inconsistent play so far. Kind of same story for Devontae Green. Really impressive in the exhibition season and early on, and then he's kind of struggled to find it a little bit. So this will be a chance for a lot of different guys to sort of get comfortable, sort of find themselves, get reacquainted with significant playing time for the first time in a while. So even though these next couple of games probably aren't going to be the most exciting, there could be some benefits in there, and then we get on with the real part of the season after that.
Yeah, it's not a bye week necessarily. That's a bad example because they do have to play a few games in there. But it's definitely a time for self-reflection. And if you're a guy like a Curtis Jones, a Devontae Green, De'Ron Davis, especially a lot of the young guys, you can kind of take a step back and say, okay, what did I do well? What did I do poorly? What do I have to do to play more like this game and not this game? And that's really what you can use these next 2 weeks for if you're in Indiana, and then get ready for, okay, what's our actual rotation going to be when we play Butler, Louisville, the Big Ten comes up, because at a certain point you have to come up with some sort of rotation. We've seen spurts of it, North Carolina and Kansas, but I couldn't really tell you firmly at all which 8 or 9 guys are going to play today. And
Right.
maybe these next couple weeks with self-reflection and people kind of realizing just what their role is going to be, we get a better idea of it while they beat up on teams that end in Baptist and that type of thing.
And we get to look at some guys who are going to be a wild card, because we know from the past, whether it was a Ryan Burton or whoever coming off the bench, there's always kind of that one guy that you maybe don't expect in a certain game and gets called on to fill minutes, whether it's an injury, foul trouble, what have you, that needs to step up and make that big shot. So chance for these guys to sort of get comfortable and get ready so that when the time comes, they might be the one to step up, however that rotation shapes up.
You can be Ryan Burton. That's
I can
basically
be
what
Ryan
it is.
Burton?
Well, you can't be Ryan Burton. One of these guys can be Ryan Burton, and who doesn't want to be Ryan Burton, right?
Well, right. I mean, I don't really know Ryan Burton, but seems no
I'm
reason I wouldn't want to
I'm
be
just
him.
assuming he was a good guy based on like 4 games he had at the end of last year that really helped Indiana in their Sweet 16 run.
All right. Well,
Nice time to
that's
end it, yeah.
that's probably enough
Career
for
night
tonight.
Thriller, be
Career-
Ryan Burton.
Career night for Sam. Thanks for appearing on Scoop Talk.
I love the Scoop Talk. I even dressed like I figured you guys would. I try to dress like the HT when I feel like I might be on Herald-Times related content.
We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have the gang back together on Sunday. Hopefully Mike Miller finally got his moving done since Fred Glass and Kevin Wilson decided to interrupt that process on Thursday. So we'll see you on Sunday, folks.